Be'ezrat Hashem, this morning we're studying the Gemara Baba Metzia 59b. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Mishum Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Teaches us, Rabbi Yochanan, in the name of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, Noach lo la'adam, שיפיל עצמו לכבשן האש, ואל ילבין פני חברו ברבים. It's better for you to jump into a fire and don't embarrass anybody publicly. Menalan, where do we learn it from? Anything we say has to be supported somehow from the Torah. So we learn it from Tamar. What's the story of Tamar? Tamar was the daughter-in-law of Yehuda. Yehuda has 3 boys, Onan, and Shelah. Tamar is married to the oldest son, Er dies. So Yehuda tells Tamar, okay, get married to his brother, to Onan. Onan dies afterwards. Now she wants to get married to the 3rd brother because she wants to have children. She didn't have children, not from the first husband and not from the second husband. But Yehuda says, no, that's it. He tells her nicely, go back to your father's house, stay there. Shelah is still young, and when time comes, I'm going to call you. She sees that Shelah is grown up already, but Yehuda has no intentions to get married, to marry Shelah to her. What does she do? She puts a veil, she sits somewhere. Yehuda, at that time, loses his wife also, and when he passes at Parashat Derachim, it was like an intersection of ways, and he sees her, he proposes to her, and she's asking him for a collateral. She says, I don't know you, so give me a collateral to mean that you're serious. So he gives her his ring, he gives her his staff, his stick, and he gives her a cape. Then she disappears. He's looking for her, he can't find her. 3 months later, they come and they tell Yehuda, which was a judge in Israel, they tell him, you know that your daughter-in-law is pregnant? He says, pregnant? She's not married. She probably committed an act of idolatry. He brings her in front of him, in front of his father, Yaakov, and in front of his brothers, and they judge her. And he puts a psak. He condemns her to death. At that time, a lady that committed idolatry, the punishment was very severe. Now she's pregnant, and the Torah tells us she has twins. She carries twins. She doesn't want to embarrass Yehuda. She doesn't want to tell him, hey, you're the responsible. You are the father of those 2 babies. What does she do? She takes out the stick, she takes out the ring, she takes out the cape, and she says, the responsible for this pregnancy is the man who gave me those 3 things. No one knew it's Yehuda. Yehuda could have kept quiet and not say anything. She did not want to embarrass him. It was in front of his father, in front of his brothers, and in front of a lot of spectators. What does he do, Yehuda? He said, Tzadeka, she's right. I'm the responsible for this pregnancy. And I'm sorry. Publicly, he admitted that he's the responsible, and she was saved with the 2 babies. But what if it happened if Yehuda wouldn't be so strong and wouldn't admit? She would get burnt with 2 babies. You learn from here, she preferred to jump into the fire and not to embarrass Yehuda publicly. And the Torah tells us, the Midrash teaches us, that we were called Bnei Israel. But from that moment on, we were called Yehudim, Jews. Why? Because a Jew is always ready to admit his fault and not to be embarrassed, even if it's in public. You're not supposed to embarrass a Jew. You're not supposed to embarrass your fellow, right? Publicly. Not publicly, not publicly. But one who is strong, right? Yehuda has a heart of a lion, they say. He admits his fault and says, I'm sorry, even if it's publicly. So from here we learn, watch out. Don't embarrass anybody publicly, right? So the Gemara says, the Gemara continues and teaches us, a person should be very careful not to torture his wife, not abuse, right, of his wife verbally, right? Take care of his wife. Why? Because a lady, her tears shed very fast. And you should know something, says the Gemara. From the day the temple was destroyed, right? Hashem listened to tears. With tears, you can open all the gates in heavens, right? With prayers, it's not for sure Hashem is going to answer to you. And the lady, if you abuse of her, even verbally, she cries. Her heart bleeds. she sheds tears, and Hashem listens to her tears. And in Shamayim, in heavens, those tears can be used against you. So I tell you, watch out, respect your wife. And it tells you over here, you don't always have to listen to your wife. Not always. But the Gemara says, Hani bemili de alma. That when she comes and says, oh, we have to change home, we have to change my car, we have to change this. You don't have always to listen to her. No, there's no mitzvah of listening for everything she says. But bemili de beta, something that has to do with the house, with the education of children, something that has to do, she wants to invite guests, and you're not so much for it. Listen to her. Listen to her, because Avraham Avinu listened to Sarah. Hashem tells Avraham, Shema bekol Sarah. Anything Sarah tells you about the education of Yitzchak, and there was a conflict between Yitzchak and Ishmael, and Sarah asked to take away Ishmael from the house, it was hard in the eyes of Abraham, but he did what Sarah told him, because Hashem is telling him, Sarah, Shema bekola. If Sarah tells you something about the education of children, she knows more than you. Listen to her. And the Gemara says and teaches us, Amar Rabbi Chalabu, Le'olam yeh adam za'ir bekvod ishto. You should be very careful to respect your wife. She'ena beracha mitzuya betoch beto shel adam, ela bishvil ishto. If you have any blessing in your business, in your personal life, if you succeed in something, you should know this is thanks to the blessing of your wife. That's why there's husbands, before they leave the house, they ask their wife for a blessing. Give me a bracha, please. And the wife gives him the bracha. You should have a successful day. You should have a great day. This bracha is going to accompany you from the moment you're leaving the house till the moment you come back in the house in the afternoon or at night. The bracha of your wife is something very, very important. I remember I saw a story about the 9/11, right? When the Twin Towers fell. There was a person, he had a fight with his wife, and he was in one of those planes that crashed. At the last seconds before the plane crashed, he took out his phone. He called his wife, which he had a big argument that morning, and he was able to say only few words. With everything that happened this morning, I love you. And then boom, the plane crashes into the Twin Towers, and she finds about it few minutes later that her husband was on this plane. Imagine the scar for life that this lady had. Why fight? She could have left her husband this morning with a good spirit, with a smile, with a blessing, even though he died. But why live with a fight? To tell you, you need your wife's bracha every morning when you leave the house. Vela Avraham etiv ba'avora. All the blessing that Avraham got is thanks to Sarah, his wife. And that's what Rava taught is the Bnei Mechuza, the people of the city of Mechuza in Babylon. You want to be rich? Right? It's not the lottery is going to get you rich. It's not the segulot that you do are going to get rich. You want to get rich? Respect your wife. This is the biggest thing that can give you happiness and richness. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen v'amen.